What is up, mtg-portal, and welcome to the E.D.H deck tech for Breya Etherium Shaper. She is literally, no puns intended, shaping up to be one of my all-time favorite E.D.H commanders, especially out of the 2016 commander block. So sit back, grab a drink, get a bite to eat, and let's dig into this deck tech. Without further ado, here we go. So one of the first things that I want to do in this deck tech is actually take a moment to talk about the commander, which in this instance is Breya Etherium Shaper. And the reasons why I think she is so fantastic and is my focal point for this E.D.H deck tech. So, Breya Etherium Shaper, because of her three different abilities, makes her just a very difficult commander for most players to deal with. So, when Breya Etherium Shaper enters the battlefield, she creates two 1/1 blue THOPTER artifact creature tokens that have flying. So you may pay 2 colorless mana and sacrifice 2 artifacts and choose one of the 3 following abilities. You may either have Breya deal 3 damage to target player, which is literally a lightning bolt for 2 artifacts, which is ridiculous. You may have target creature get -4/-4 until end of turn, or you may gain 5 life. Breya Etherium Shaper has so many ways to control the board and the aspect in which the way you kill the other player. I think she's probably one of the most potent commanders that's come out in a very, very long time. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start breaking into the actual deck tech, and let's see what we've got to offer with this amazing commander. Alright guys, so first up are the creatures that we're going to feature in Breya Etherium Shaper. Because of the creatures that I have selected for this deck tech, there are some very cool abilities, triggers, and different mechanics that kind of fall hand in hand. So let's check them out. First up on the list we have Memnarch, coming in at 7 colorless mana for a 4/5 artifact creature wizard. You may pay 1 colorless and 2 blue. Target permanent becomes an artifact in addition to its other types. And 3 colorless and a blue to gain control of target artifacts. Next up, we have PHYREXIAN METAMORPH, coming in at 3 colorless and or 2 life and a blue. You may have PHYREXIAN METAMORPH enter the battlefield as a copy of any artifact or creature on the battlefield, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. Absolutely ruthless. Next up, we have Master of Etherium, coming in at 2 colorless and a blue for a star artifact Veldican Wizard. Master of Ethereum's power and toughness are each equal to the number of artifacts you control, and other artifact creatures you control get +1/+1. You can easily see how this guy gets out of hand very, very quickly. Our next creature up is Deadeye Navigator, coming in at 4 colorless and 2 blue for a 5/5 spirit with Soul Bond. For those who don't know what Soul Bond does, you may pair this creature with another unpaired creature. When either enters the battlefield, they remain paired for as long as you control both of them. You may pay 1 colorless and a blue, and as long as Deadeye Navigator is paired with another creature, each of those creatures has Flicker. You may exile that card and then return to the battlefield under your control. This is where this card gets stupid. Let me show you a few examples. So here's where the train derails and gets out of control. Here's the first stupid combo, Deadeye Navigator Aeromancer. As long as I have enough mana to do this, boom! Now I can flicker and bounce as many instants or sorcerers from my graveyard to my hand. Does it get worse? Yes, it does. Let me introduce you to yet another ridiculously stupid combo. Deadeye Navigator meet Sanctum Gargoyle. Sanctum Gargoyle meet Deadeye Navigator. Cool, now I can flicker and instantly attain an infinite amount of artifacts from my graveyard back to my hand. Yeah. And if we didn't already like disgustingly stupid combos, well here's another one for you. Deadeye Navigator and Combustible Gearhulk. Combustible Gearhulk reads, when Combustible Gearhulk enters the battlefield, target opponent may have you draw 3 cards. If the player doesn't, put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. Then Combustible Gearhulk deals damage to that player equal to the total converted mana cost of those cards. Then you just go back with the Gargoyle and you do it all over again. Some might be asking, well, how can you do those 3 really stupid combos, and how do you get infinite mana? Well, here it is. Peregrine Drake meet Deadeye Navigator. Deadeye Navigator meet Peregrine Drake. Flicker Peregrine Drake to attain infinite mana of all colors. Then you unpair Deadeye Navigator and proceed to humiliate and torment your opponents with the Combustible Gearhulk, the Gargoyle, and of course the Aeromancer and anything and everything else you want to do. Shall we continue? Next up, we have Arcanus the Omnipotent, a 3/4 wizard for 3 colorless and 3 blue. Essentially, you just keep him tapped at all times and draw an extra 3 on your upkeep. Or you can pay 2 colorless and 2 blue, and if you get in a pinch, you can bounce him back to your hand. Thought you were going to kill him. Yeah, no, you're not. Don't think it. Next up, we have Master Transmuter, coming in at 3 colorless and a blue for a 1/2 Human Artificer. You may tap a blue to tap Master Transmuter and return an artifact you control to its owner's hand, and then you can put an artifact from your hand into play. How do I use this? Tokens. Those little ornithopters you create? Yeah. Kill them and bring something out better. Can't go wrong, right? Next up, we have Etherium Sculptor. He's a 1/2 for 1 colorless and a blue, an artifact creature that is a Veldican Artificer. Long story short, artifact spells you cast cost 1 colorless less to cast. We all love him for that. Next up, we have Trinket Mage, coming in at 2 colorless and a blue for a 2/2. When Trinket Mage enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an artifact card with converted mana cost of 1 or less, reveal that card and put it into your hand. If you do, shuffle your library. Why is this great? It's great for getting cards out like this. See, Trinket Mage is essential for getting cards out like this. SKULLCLAMP, at 1 colorless, you can give a -1 to an Ornithopter, killing it, and drawing 2 cards, with a 1 cost to equip it. Or cards like Soul Ring, which you can tap to do everything you need with a SKULLCLAMP, and draw more cards. See? You get it? You should. Then we have cards like Chief Engineer, coming in at 1 colorless and a blue for a 1/3 Vatican Artificer. Artifact spells you cast have Convoke. Well, what is Convoke? Every creature that you tap can help cast an artifact spell by paying for 1 colorless mana. And since they're all artifacts, and we have ways to untap them all in your opponent's turn, kind of a cool thing. So play it for free? Yeah. Next up, we have another fun little card, Cataclysmic Gearhole, coming in at 3 colorless and 2 white for a 4/5 construct. Also an artifact. It does have Vigilance. When Cataclysmic Gearhole enters the battlefield, each player chooses an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker from among the non-land permanents he or she controls, then sacrifices the rest. And then we have Hana Ship's Navigator, coming in at 1 colorless, a white, and a blue for a 1/2 Human Artificer. Also a legendary creature. This is more so in case your combos don't get off. You can pay 1 colorless, a white, and a blue, tap her, and return target artifact or enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand, i.e. more artifact recursion. Another wonderful addition to the deck is Magister SPHINX, coming in at 4 colorless, a white, blue, and a black for a 5/5. Berry Bird, that's also an artifact, with flying. When Magister SPHINX comes into play, target player's life total becomes 10. Not a whole lot more I have to say about that, really. Except for how I can abuse it with like 4 other commander players. Bet you know what I'm going to do next. I bet you do. For those of you who guessed it, great job. DEADEYE Navigator and Magister SPHINX is another way to piss off the entire board state. And if you have 4 to 5 opponents and you want to kill them all in one turn, going infinite mana, stacking all artifacts, dropping them to 10, and then killing the remaining 10 life from your commander's ability is a great way to ensure that nobody wants to play you against this deck ever again. Burnished Heart's another great card to have in here, because if you have the combo where you're tapping cards to lower or your artifacts are costing less, then basically this is free mana ramp, and you really can't go wrong. Shimmer Mire is another great little artifact creature to make all of your opponents absolutely hate you, because you can flash in on their turn, and then you can flash in all the other artifacts, and they don't have summoning sickness, which kind of hurts. And then we have Magus of the Will, coming in at 2 colorless and black for a 3/3 human wizard. You may pay 2 colorless and a black, tap him, exile Magus of the Will, and until end of turn you may play cards from your graveyard. If a card would be put into your graveyard from anywhere this turn, however, you must exile it. He's basically like a second Yawgmoth's Will, which you can't go wrong with. Next up we have Hangerback Walker. He is a double X. For an artifact creature construct, Hangerback Walker enters the battlefield with X/1/1 counters on it. Whenever Hangerback Walker dies, create a 1/1 colorless THOPTER artifact creature token with flying for each 1/1 counter on Hangerback Walker. And you may pay 1, tap him, and put a 1/1 counter on him. Quite the powerful vehicle to annihilate your opponents with. Next up we have Mire Retriever, coming in at 2 colorless for a 1/1 Mire that's an artifact. When Mire Retriever dies, return another target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. His whole purpose in this deck is to be popped off with SKULLCLAMP, you draw 2, and bring an artifact back from your graveyard. Next up, we do have the Sad Robot, or as he's properly known, SCULPTING. He's a 2/2 for 4 colorless. When he enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card and put it on the battlefield tapped. Then you shuffle your library, and when he dies, you may draw a card. One of my personal favorites is Goblin Welder, coming in at 1 red for a 1/1. You may tap him and exchange target artifact a player controls for target artifact card in that player's graveyard. So exchange an Ornithopter for a powerful artifact. Gotcha. Pretty cool little card. Plus you can pop him off with SKULLCLAMP. And finishing at our creature base, we do have HELLKITE TYRANT, coming in at 4 colorless and 2 red for a 6/5 dragon with flying and trample. Whenever HELLKITE TYRANT deals combat damage to a player, gain control of all artifacts the player controls. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 20 or more artifacts, you win the game. Alright guys, so next up we've got artifacts. I know we've had a lot of really crazy creatures and some really cool combos, so now we're going to kind of turn the wheel a little bit and dive into our mana ramp, and then just dive into the rest of the artifacts you'll see featured in this deck tech. First artifact up is going to be the typical Soul Ring. E.D.H staple for every commander deck that's out there, regardless of what the main deck is based around. They all have Soul Ring. It's 1 colorless. You may tap it to add 2 colorless mana directly to your mana pool. Following Soul Ring, we do have our Gilded Lotus, which is going to come in at 5 colorless mana. You can then tap it to add 3 mana of any 1 color directly to your mana pool. Another crucial E.D.H staple, especially in mana ramp. Following Gilded Lotus, we do have the iconic THRAN DYNAMO. Great artifact acceleration because it's colorless mana, so we don't have to fix anything. Coming in at 4 colorless, you may tap it to add 3 colorless mana directly to your mana pool. And last but not least, from the mana ramp, we follow that up with a Chromatic Lantern. Coming in at 3 colorless mana, Chromatic Lantern makes it to where lands you control have tapped to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. And then you can tap Chromatic Lantern to add 1 mana of any mana to your mana pool. Great way to round it out. Alright, next up on the artifacts, we do have Synthesized Divining Top. Coming in at 1 colorless, you may pay 1, look at the top 3 cards of your library, and put them back in any order. Or you can tap Synthesized Divining Top, draw a card, and then put Synthesized Divining Top on top of your library. Absolutely fantastic artifacts. Following that up, we do have Sculpting Steel. Coming in at 3 colorless mana, you may have Sculpting Steel enter the battlefield as a copy of any artifact on the battlefield. So this is a key card, whether you're copying Mana Ramp or Darksteel Forge or any particular artifact that's going to benefit you that your opponent has, or you want a copy of your own. Here you go. Following up with Unwinding Clock, coming in at 4 colorless mana. Untap all artifacts you control during each other player's untap step. So this card is crucial because 90% of your deck are artifacts. Therefore, they're never going to be permanently tapped, and you can attack whenever you want on your opponent's turn. THOPTER Foundry is another fantastic card in this deck, coming in at 1 colorless and a black, or a black, and 1 blue. Pay 1, sacrifice a non-token artifact, and create a 1/1 blue THOPTER artifact, and you gain 1 life when it enters the board. Plus it has flying. And then of course the iconic SKULLCLAMP, which is what combos with the THOPTER Foundry. Killing those THOPTERs, drawing 2 cards. Coming on the battlefield with 1 colorless mana as an equip cost, and 1 colorless to play it. Gives target creature +1, -1, and whenever that creature dies, you draw 2 cards. And then, of course, our iconic Darksteel Forge, coming in at 9 colorless mana. Artifacts you control are indestructible, which is absolutely fantastic. Enables you to do what you want with them, and your opponents can't really screw with them. Of course, we have Lightning Greaves, coming in at 2 colorless for a 0 equip cost. The equipped creature has Haste and Shroud. This is mainly designed to protect Breya, comboed with Darksteel Plate, coming in at 3 colorless. Darksteel Plate is indestructible, equipped creature is indestructible, and it has a 2 equip cost. Basically, Breya is not to be messed with. And then finishing it off with Time Sieve. Coming in at 1 blue and a black, you may tap it, sacrifice 5 artifacts you control, and take an extra turn after this one. Hope you guys enjoyed the section of artifacts. Next, we're going to dive into instants and sorceries. Moving right along, it's time to talk about instants. Those fun, nasty little things that most Magic players either really love or really don't. But I think you're really going to love them. But your opponents will probably hate them. Anyways, here we go. Word of Invention. X and 3 blue for an instant with Improvise. Search your library for an artifact card with converted mana cost X or less and put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. I love this card. I think it's fantastic and it's going to fit beautifully in this deck. Cyclonic Rift. 1 colorless and a blue. Instant cast speed. Return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand, and you can overload it for 6 colorless and 1 blue, returning all non-land permanents you don't control to their owner's hands. We follow that up with some card advantage. Brainstorm at 1 blue, instant speed. Draw 3 cards, then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. Card advantage and stacking the deck, helping your next 2 draws, is absolutely essential and fantastic. And we follow that card up with my personal favorite, Impulse. Coming in at 1 colorless and a blue, look at the top 4 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library. Shuffle your library afterwards. The ability to look 4 cards deep, choose the one that I need, and get rid of the trash is imperative and absolutely essential in this E.D.H format deck. Next up, we do have Path to Exile, coming in at 1 white for an instant removal. Remove target creature from the game. Its controller may search his or her library for a basic land card and put that card into play tapped, then shuffle his or her library. And we follow Path to Exile with my next favorite, which is Dispatch. For 1 white, normally Dispatch would suck because it only taps the target creature. However, Metalcraft, being that we play artifacts, if you control 3 or more artifacts, you exile that creature instead, which makes Dispatch a nasty instant for your opponents to deal with. And long last, we've arrived at the sorceries. There are some very cool sorceries in this deck and some very interesting ways to kind of mess with your opponents. So, without further ado, let's dive, well, right in. First out the bat is going to be Trash for Treasure, 2 colorless and a red. As an additional cost to cast Trash for Treasure, sacrifice an artifact. Return target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's where those Thopters come into play. Sack a Thopter, return a good artifact to the battlefield. Following that, we have Scrap Mastery at 3 colorless and 2 red. Each player exiles all artifact cards from his or her graveyard, then sacrifices all artifacts he or she controls. Then puts all cards he or she exiled this way onto the battlefield. It's good times. We've also got Diabolic Revelation at 3 colorless, 2 black, and X. Search your library for up to X cards and put those cards into your hand, then shuffle your library. Great way to ensure that you get everything you need on a win con condition. If you've already gone infinite mana, draw your entire deck and just play it all and wreck your opponent. Following that, we do have Fabricated, 2 colorless and a blue. Search your library for an artifact card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Great way to get an essential artifact that you haven't pulled or a key part to your combo and finish her out. For a board wipe, we do run Supreme Verdict. Supreme Verdict cannot be countered. It's 1 colorless, 2 white, and a blue. It does destroy all creatures in play. Beautiful part to that is if you have used Darksteel Forge, you're indestructible, so destroy effects don't target you. Following that up, we do have Time Stretch. At 8 colorless and 2 blue, target player takes 2 extra turns after this one. Great way to take an additional turn if you've already gone infinite. Why not just make it even more worse for your opponents? We do follow that up with Blatant Thievery, coming in at 4 colorless and 3 blue. For each opponent, gain control of target permanent that player controls. So kind of how we talk about board love and diplomacy, yeah, it's all going out the window with this card, because at this point, everybody on the board state's going to hate you. That's okay though, because this deck's designed to win. We do follow it with Yawgmoth's Will, 2 colorless and a black. Till end of turn, you may play cards in your graveyard as though they were in your hand. If you put a card in your graveyard this turn, though, it is exiled instead. And then we have our tutors, starting out with Demonic Tutor at 1 colorless and a black. Search your library for a card, put it into your hand, then reshuffle your library. And, of course, Diabolic Tutor. Does the same effect, but for 2 colorless and 2 black. You may search your library for a card and put that card into your hand, then shuffle your library. And that's it for our sorceries. Moving on to our Planeswalkers and enchantments. Alright, next up are the enchantments in the deck. There are a total of 5 enchantments, all of which are quite fun and have great versatility. Lots of sack outlets, card draw, and other shenanigans. So let's dive right in, shall we? First on that list is going to be Grave Pact, coming in a 1 colorless and 3 black. Whenever any creature you control is put into a graveyard, each other player sacrifices a creature. This is a great way that when you sack a Thopter to benefit you, you're screwing your opponents. I follow that up with the following. Attrition, at 1 colorless and 2 black. You may pay a black and sacrifice any creature, destroy target non-black creature. Another great way to ensure that if they play something again, you can kill it and it's not going to affect your board state. For card advantage, we do run 1 particular enchantment for Phyrexian Arena, coming in at 1 colorless and 2 black. Definitely an E.D.H staple in almost every deck that contains black. At the beginning of your upkeep, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. Not that it matters, because with Breya, you're constantly gaining life, so this is not a detractor in any means. Thopter Spy Network, 2 colorless and 2 blue. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control an artifact, put a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Whenever 1 or more artifact creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. Great synergy in this deck. And then, of course, topping this off, we have Rhystic Study at 2 colorless and 1 blue. Whenever an opponent plays a spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 1. Basically, we're going to force them to pay 1 more on every spell they cast, or we're going to keep drawing cards and screwing their board state. Absolutely fantastic. I love everything about it. Our next category are the Planeswalkers. Now, we do run 5 Planeswalkers in this deck, all of which are tailored towards artifact recursion, and keeping things on the board along with card advantage and draw. The first 2 you're going to witness tonight are going to be Tezzeret, Agent of Bolas, and Tezzeret, Master of Metal. I'll give you guys a moment to bask in their glory. Absolutely phenomenal Planeswalkers. Both are tailored directly towards artifacts. Our next 2 that we have up are going to be Teferi, Temple Archmage, and Tamiyo, the Moonsage. And ending our Planeswalkers with Liliana Vess, one of my all-time favorite Planeswalkers. And last, guys, we have come to the end of the video this evening. We are talking about our land base. Now, we have quite the extensive land base, from shocklands to fetch lands to basic lands and scry lands. We're going to break all that down for you right here. Starting out with basic lands, we're on 4 mountains. We run 5 basic swamps. You will see in the deck of 5 basic islands. And we do run 4 basic plains. Now, shifting gears a little bit, we're going to talk about artifact lands. This is something that we haven't seen in a deck in a very, very long time. And they bring really awesome utility because they can tap and trigger abilities that help the deck overall be a bit cheaper. Ancient Den is being the first artifact land for white. We follow that with Great Furnace for red. Following that with Vault of Whispers for black. And of course we have Seat of the Synod for blue. Now we move into our fetch lands. There are only 3 fetch lands in the deck, but they're still absolute staples to ensure we get the color fixing out quickly and enable us to do what we need to do in this deck. Moving straight into fetches, our first fetch up is going to be Bloodstained Mire, which is both black and red. We also have Flooded Strand, which is going to be white and blue. And we have Polluted Delta, which is going to be blue and black. Now, aside from our fetch lands, we do have our shock lands. Now, our shock land base is going to be a little bit more direct. With our shock lands, we do consist of the following: Hollowed Fountain for white or blue, Watery Grave for both blue and black, Blood Crypt for black and red, Godless Shrine for white and black, Steam Vents for both blue and red, and last but not least on the shocks, we have Sacred Foundry for red and white. Alright guys, and last but not least on the journey of lands, we have our Scryland base. We are running 5 Scrylands to help set the deck and ensure that our draws are what we need them to be. First on that list is going to be Temple of Deceit, tapping for both blue and black, followed by Temple of Epiphany for blue and red. Next up is Temple of Malice for black and red. And of course we have Temple of Silence for black and white, followed last but not least by Temple of Triumph for red and white. I hope you guys enjoyed this E.D.H deck tech for Breya Etherium Shaper. Glad to be back on the channel. This is our first E.D.H deck tech in quite some time, so I hope you guys enjoyed the content we provided this evening. As always, we appreciate our patrons and everyone here at mtg-portal who helps support us in many different ways. If you'd like to help support mtg-portal but you can't do so as a patron, don't worry. There's plenty of other opportunities for you to do that at a later date. But we're more than happy to have you share our content, like this page if you haven't already. Please, please, please become a subscriber of our channel. Help spread this to your family and friends, and let's get this community and gaming channel back up on its feet and tearing up content on a monthly and weekly basis. Look for more content coming when TRINKET, the newest set, launches, as well as spoilers and weekly updates on E.D.H deck techs, how-tos, tricks, and everything Magic the Gathering related right here at mtg-portal. Thank you guys. We appreciate everything you do. As always, if you have not subscribed to mtg-portal yet, I have no clue what you're waiting for. There's a big old link on the bottom of the screen and that animated GIF up there that should really encourage you to smash that subscribe button, kind of like him, and get involved in our channel. Talk to you soon, guys. See you all later. Take care.